Welcome to the LZ Sports Show. I am Mark Adam, LZ Sports, or I guess what, WPG Sports Coordinator. I don't even know anymore. The season's over. It's sad times. But I have some friends here with me to make it all better. Before I bring them in, I'm going to let you know you can follow us on all the social medias: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. You can support the stream by going to streamlabs.com/the WPG magazine. If you want to see something cool, you can go to streamlabs.com/thewpgmagazine/v2, as in version 2, and you can literally watch the stream and support it from there. Very cool. That said, like and subscribe, huge deal. When you like and subscribe, it really helps with the way that YouTube's algorithm works to help get the word out about the show. You can also call or text the WPG Sports Line, 431-800-4555, or email thelz@thewpg.ca. We have this wonderful little chat box to my left, which you can fill with all of your thoughts, questions, concerns, laments to the end of an era, and all that. So without further ado, I will introduce Mr. Kerry Bilkowski, joining me all the way from his home. How are you, sir?
I am okay. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And we also have joining us Neutral Zoner, who will be with us for a very short period today, but we're happy to have him. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
We're always happy to have you here.
Short cameo today.
Yeah, just popping in to say hello. So many questions, says James Robinson in the chat. We're going to get to them all. What are we starting with today, though, folks? I think we should probably look at the stats, and then we'll come back and dissect the game, and then we can move on a little bit and talk about more season-wide stuff and blah, blah, blah. So first up, the game stats. A 3-2 overtime loss to the Montreal Canadiens. Only 16 shots for the Jets, 42 shots on goal for the Canadiens, 52% in the faceoff circle for the Jets versus the Canadiens 48. 0 for 1 on the power play, 1 for 3 on the power play were the Habs. So the Jets 6 penalty minutes, the Habs only 2. 49 hits for the Jets to the Habs 25. Do the stats show how much offensive zone time the Jets had? No, but I'm sure that Zoner's pretty good at Googling those things really quick on the fly, so maybe we'll have that come up. So thank you for pointing that out. We will look at that as well. Then we looking at the score sheet here. Stanley potting 2. Last night in the chat, Kerry Bilkowski pointed out he's an elite goal scorer, Logan Stanley, with 2 goals on the night. Connor with 2 assists. Appleton and Ben each getting 1. Hellebuck 39 for 42 with a 0.929 save percentage. Toffoli with a goal and an assist. Gustafsson and Lehkonen with the other goals. Suzuki had a couple of assists, and then a plethora of Canadians had 1 assist, including Gallagher and several others. So next game for them to be determined. Next game for the Jets next season. Oh, wah, wah. Carey Price went 14 for 16 on the night for a .875 save percentage. Not great. So the playoff run ends. The Jets go 4-4. So they sweep and get swept. Tit for tat. Not fun. Don't like showing this here where you got Winnipeg already faded out. Montreal winning that one in 4 straight. The Islanders are in control of their series right now, up 3-2 on Boston. Tampa Bay poised to knock Carolina off this evening. Colorado and Vegas, they are just having a battle over there. 2-2, basically home ice advantage wins so far in that series. We'll see how the rest of that plays out. And this is the unfortunate situation. Only one team advanced to the next round, and it wasn't the Jets. That's sad times. So it happens, gentlemen. It happens. So let's get to it. Womp womp, says James Robinson in the chat. Thank you so much for adding that that part to it. I don't want to cry. Yes, I do. It's fine. We'll get through it. So womp womp. It goes on and on. Let's get to the positive before we hit up the negative, shall we? So we'll start with Kerry. Who for you was your player of the game? I'd like to know. So let's do
sure. Well, you got my player of the game, I'll be honest. But my second player of the game, and someone you could pick for almost any Jets game this season, Connor Hellebuck was one of our best players. He made 39 saves against a Montreal team that just was always in the zone, always in his face. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but, the guy played great for us all season and arguably took us through a playoff series that maybe we didn't deserve to win, and then another one that we didn't deserve to win as well.
Yeah, that was not amazing, but it happens. For you, Zoner, which way are you going?
Again, this is also for my second pick, and flip-flopping while I'm thinking about it just now. But maybe this is more for the whole season's worth of work rather than just one game. But Nikolai Ehlers, I think, has been their offensive MVP all year long. Last night, you could definitely see he was, desperately trying to score. And he actually led the team in hits too, or at least tied for it. So you can see the effort was there. I know he gave the puck away towards the end. We can talk about that a little bit later, but I can forgive him for that because he was under some duress. It wasn't like he had a lot of time to look and poke the puck to an open player. But anyways, yeah, he was trying to get the wheels going. He hit a nose for the net all night long, and you could see the effort there. He even drew a penalty, right? Just while he's being held up and obstructed right in front of the ref. And that was all just sheer effort, and he had that effort all night.
Yeah, he certainly held that up, and I'm so happy that we had such a great season. There was a lot of exciting hockey. It's an unfortunate way to end. The best player for me on that night, being last night, was Logan Stanley. Scored 2 goals, but he was hitting people. He was blocking shots. He was getting in people's faces. He wasn't giving an inch. And, the Jets had a lot of positives, even though James Robinson in the chat saying the positive. Thanks for watching. As in, like, that's it. Let me show you all the highlights. Okay, good night. Bye. Which kind of, I get it. But, yeah, it just sucks, man. We got such a good squad out there and just couldn't make it happen. And oh well, Logan Stanley, you stepped up when we needed you, and the rest of the team, I feel, last night let him down. That's personal opinion, just a personal opinion. So that said, what else can we talk about? Oh yeah, all of these other things. We got about 1,000 things here that we can talk about. First of all, let's start off with the Jets improved, but not enough and not fast enough. Let's start with you, Zoner. Go ahead and give us your impression on that.
Yeah, I did think they improved throughout the series. Like the first 2 games, they felt like they barely could cross the center line, right? And at least in the last 2 games in Montreal, they did manage to achieve some zone time. They managed to get in closer to Price. And, I mean, it wasn't ideal. Like, the shots were still coming from a little bit too far out. They weren't getting any second chances, or not enough of them. But you could see that they're getting closer and closer, and they definitely improved on the offensive side. But I think we were texting last night saying that, to me, it was a little bit reminiscent of the slump that they had, where even when they got better, they still weren't seeing the results yet. And then it's just one of those things where they ran out of time, right, to get better.
Yeah, and I mean, how much of a huge deal was Scheifele being absent, right? Like, that was a huge effect on the team. DeMello getting hurt, huge effect on the way that the back end works. You have to throw in a cold Jordy Ben that we picked up at the trade deadline. We'll get into whether or not that was a good idea later. But yeah, that slump came back in force, and it just hit at the wrong time. Like an aftershock of an earthquake. It was just it was short, but it was just short enough. Like, you saw them coming out of it, but in the playoffs, there's no time to slump. There's no time to have a moment to yourself. So that is unfortunately where we are. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Mr. Bilkowski?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there's a lot you can say about where the Jets' performance sort of left us wanting. Obviously being out one of your top scorers, and one of your best defensemen, that makes the job that much harder. But you do have to give credit to Montreal. They played not only really good hockey, they played the exact right kind of hockey to beat the Winnipeg Jets. They just frustrated and stifled them, and Carey Price, when he needed to, stood up and was huge. But ultimately it was just, most of the series was 4 lines against 3, and just not giving any of the top Jets their chances.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate thing that happened there. They just, you saw them building, you saw it coming up, and it just not enough time. Ran out of time. One of the things,
if it was a 25 game series, we would have had their number for sure.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, over the course of 10 games, we'll take you down. Yeah. But we definitely started slow, and that is not how the playoffs work. It's a race to 4. It is not a saunter to 4. And the Jets forgot that or something. I'm not really sure. But next up, let's talk about only 16 shots on goal in a playoff game in the NHL. What? And mind you, we'll also throw in the fact that there were 26 giveaways by the Jets last night in a playoff game in the NHL. Thoughts, gentlemen? Let's start with Carey this time.
Yeah, I mean, the shots, I think you saw a lot of quality shots. I think you saw a lot of stuff going wide, at least one crossbar. So, I think there's a little bit of give there. But man, the giveaways, that's unforgivable. You can't cough up the puck that often. And there's the usual suspects. I think Pierre-Luc Dubois kind of became known for his giveaways this season, unfortunately. But he wasn't the only one doing it. It was top players. It was, the reliable veteran Nate Thompson with the just absolutely brutal giveaway to give up the first goal of the game. It was Nick Ehlers with a one-handed, very soft pass, giving one away. It's just, that's the stuff that you can't have in your game if you want to make a serious playoff run.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can't throw that stuff away. It's frustrating when you watch it happen, and I'm not really sure how they plan on recovering from that, to be honest. But we'll keep moving on, putting on the brave face and all that stuff. You know how it is. But just going to leave that alone. What's next? Oh, we got in the chat there. Suspension to Scheifele completely and immediately put the Jets in disarray, and we couldn't recover. Agreed. Hellebuck should have taken himself out of the game. Screw you guys, I'm going home. That's fair enough.
Poor Hellebuck.
Yeah, I'm taking my puck and I'm going home. That's an unfortunate thing, but I am the sad, but we'll get through it as a group. We all have each other to lean on, shoulders to cry on, and all that stuff. Next, we want to talk about how the Montreal youth really stepped up in this series, didn't they?
Yeah,
definitely. Every time I looked up, Caulfield seemed to be open, and he seemed to find Suzuki or Toffoli, especially at the overtime. I think if you're a Habs fan, you're super happy because Caulfield's going to be around for a while, and he seems to play so well with Suzuki. Like, they just add a third winger, and they're set for life.
Yeah, there's so much positive happening in Montreal right now, and that sucks for the Jets, basically. Is that fair? Here's the problem, though. These young guys, they've got all this, and now they're running on a high. Now they've got this rest to go through that the Jets already suffered through, that I think was also part of the reason. 9 days off between series starts. It's been a weird year all around, but then now they have to wait and see whose butt is going to kick them.
I think because of the offset in the timing between the Canadian and American seasons, it's not going to necessarily be as long of a wait for them. And I did mention this the other day, but I don't think that Montreal is as poor a matchup against any of these remaining American teams as people are painting it. Just because you're seeing, the Vegas Colorado series being super high flying and fast and tons of offensive shots doesn't mean that Montreal's not going to impose their will against either of those teams and frustrate them and turn them from a, high energy team into one that doesn't know what they're doing and can't seem to get it together. That could just be the Jets fan in me, trying to explain away. Yeah, no, they can beat all the best teams, but it could definitely also be something we see happening.
Yeah,
and I echo that too. I'm really curious to see how the Canadians fare against Colorado or Vegas. Very curious to see if that system holds up.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see. But we just talked about how the Habs young stars sort of showed up. What about the Jets big guns? Because they last night you sort of hit the nail on the head yesterday when I was talking about how Stastny was back, and you said yes, he was physically present at the game. He technically was there, but they really just weren't there. So I'll start with you, Carey, since you had made that sort of connection with Paul Stastny at the time. But what about the rest of the guys? Wheeler, Kyle Connor not shooting until third periods of games. All of these guys. Like what was going on with the Jets?
Actually, quick interruption. I got to run.
Sure. Oh.
But thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you continue to watch. I think Mark has an exciting announcement coming up sometime in the show about what's happening with the LZ Sports Show.
Yeah.
Been great fun hanging out with you guys, and I hope that's sort of leaked itself through the airwaves somehow to your computers or headsets. And thank you, Mark. Thank you, Carey, and thank you, Keith, and who's not here today. But awesome. Talk to you all later.
Right
Thanks,
on. Zoner, you're the man. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure we'll be talking Jets, and if you have any interest in Valor FC and Bombers, we'll have you back on. Friend of the LZ show for life, sir. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Right. All right, that was awesome. That's Neutral Zoner making his leave for the end of the season, throwing in the towel. James Robinson in the chat says, too bad the Jets didn't have some young talent they could have injected into the lineup. Oh, man, he is just dripping sarcasm in the chat today. I love it.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. So,
yeah.
Paul Maurice opted to play all of his veteran players when given the opportunity. I don't think there's any surprise there. That's the type of coach he is. That's what he likes to do. I certainly don't necessarily always agree with that. But even the young guy who slipped into the lineup, Christian Vesalainen, he played 7 minutes last night. Like, you're trying to get a spark going and, maybe have some of your offensive players get some shots on net. And you can't put a young guy with good hands and good skates out on the ice and give him a chance. Come on, get the young guys out there, man.
I agree. We said it yesterday. I said it, and I said it on the show before that. Start rolling all your lines. Play everybody. Play them all. Stop leaning on these top two lines that aren't getting anything done. Stop trying to figure out what to do with Dubois. Put him on the fourth line. All season, I was asking to see Appleton and Connor as line mates. We saw it last night, I think, for the first time.
Yeah. And I think that there could be a spark there because they're both players who like to think about the offensive zone, and Appleton's got such a hard-nosed attitude, and Connor's got so much skill, it's and they both play hard most of the time.
Yeah. At most of the time is unfortunately the key there. In the chat, Simon Lung joining us. Hello, by the way. I saw your, things going on in the chat. He said, I actually traced this series back to the innocuous play. Game 1, late in the third. The puck is in midair, and the Jets swat it and sends it over the boards. That was that
was Morrissey.
Delay a game. Yeah, that was that delay a game penalty that fortunately did not work in our favor. Caused the delay a game penalty. The Habs scored, and then because of that, Scheifele had to skate back for the Evans hit.
That was the butterfly flapping its wings that caused the complete collapse of Jets society afterwards.
Yeah,
yes.
and that BS. The puck is above your waist. There's no way he's intentionally sending it over the boards. I don't like that rule. I don't. I haven't for a long time. You shoot the puck over the boards, heck yeah. That's a penalty. But if you're batting the puck out of the air, that like just trying to get it out of a danger area, that's not you shooting a puck over the glass. And the same thing happened to one of the Vegas Golden Knights. He reached up to try and knock the puck down with his hand, and he punched it over the glass by accident. Like it just sort of bounced off his hand. I mean, that one's a little more gray because was his intent to push it over or not? But I don't think it was. And I think I don't know. There's just no right way to do it because, you know, you can't just give it a penalty for intent because who decides who intended to do what?
Yeah, right? I'll sort of disagree with you there and say that's one of the few penalties I like because it's the only penalty that you see called completely consistently and that there is a very hard specific rule as to what qualifies it as a penalty or not. Whereas when you get these interference and hooking and slashing and cross-checking calls, it becomes so discretionary as to whether the ref feels like it is warranting a penalty or not.
James Robinson says it's still Marner's fault. Which
yeah, absolutely.
Of course it is. I'm totally cool with that. Let's take a 30-second break. We'll be right back after this word from our sponsor, and we've got more to talk about vis-a-vis the Jets season, and then some news about the LZ Sports Show itself. Stick around. See you in 30 seconds.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bathroom, or a premium upgrade on outdoor furniture, Aquatech is the only name you need to know. That's because if it's an Aquatech job, it's an Aquatech team working on it. No outsourcing, no subcontractors. We do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dougal Road. Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
So, thank you to Aquatech Pool Spa and Bath. Very, very happy to have them as supporters of the LZ Sports Show. I will point out, if you would like to be a supporter of the LZ Sports Show, you can get on board. Call 431-489-2401. Ask for me. I'll probably be the one answering the phone, so it won't matter. But then you can also email ads@thewpg.ca. So go ahead and do that. We would greatly appreciate that. Quick reminder also, go ahead and like and subscribe to all of the platforms of social media style, particularly YouTube. When you like and subscribe and get notifications and stuff, it whips out our algorithm and just starts sending it all over the intertubes, and more people see it. It's great. So we pick up where we left off here. Now, so basically the season is over. Not basically, the season is over for the Jets. And now it's about dissecting what happened and planning for the future. So let's take 2 seconds to go back. The biggest news that happened with the Jets this season was that Laine Dubois trade. We gave away Laine and Roslovic. We got back Dubois and a first-round pick, I think, for next year. So is that what happened? I forget. What came over with Dubois?
Laine, yeah, I think it was a third
round pick. Anyway, so who wins? Let's pick that apart for a second. Throw it in the chat, whatever your thoughts are. But who do you think won on that particular front, Mr. Bilkowski?
Well, it's a complicated one for sure. If you look at previous season's performance, I think we lost a better player in last year's Patrick Laine than Columbus gained or than Columbus lost in last year's Pierre-Luc Dubois. And also giving up Jack Roslovic, who's, proved this season that he can be a, top 6 for sure player, and had one of the best highlight goals of the year, by the way, on the Blue Jackets. He made some good plays. I still see a ton of potential in Pierre-Luc Dubois, and I think a Jets training camp is going to do wonders for his play, and I think he's going to come back next season as a more complete player and a player who has a better idea of how he sits in the system. Whereas it seems like Patrick Laine kind of lost his will to play hockey entirely. He turned down the opportunity to go play at the Worlds, which, by the way, would it have been a different series if Patrick Laine was playing with the Finns? Worth asking that question. I think as it stands, both teams kind of lost that trade. Neither team got back what they gave away last season.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. I like that you're, because compared to last year, Laine, and I say that wearing a Laine jersey still, and I have no problem with the way Laine left and the way, he didn't want to play here. I get it. Get him out, because, it'll help him. It'll help us in the long run, right? But now we brought in Dubois, who we had to wait 2 weeks for a quarantine for, and then he got injured. And then it was this litany of things that happened with Dubois that really dropped his stock in this city. And he came in, Big Dick Dubois. That was the nickname that the fans gave him, just walking in here. And everybody knew what a great playoffs he had. And this was going to be this guy, right? This is the guy we got. Well, we didn't get that guy. We really didn't. We never saw that guy all year. And particularly in the playoffs, he just absolutely was. He was a fourth line player at best in these playoffs. And I tried to defend that trade all year because Laine needed out, and we got a great player, supposedly, in Dubois. But then, on the other end, Laine, as you pointed out, did not perform, ends up being benched, this, that, and the other thing. Jack Roslovic had a flash of brilliance and then sort of faded into the ether, and then the Columbus Blue Jackets just exploded or imploded. I'm really not sure how that all went down, but maybe you have more on that. But
yeah, I think there's some pretty big systematic problems in Columbus that prevented either of those very good players that they got from reaching their potential. But you could probably turn around and say the same thing about Winnipeg and not harnessing a player who's proven himself to be a great point getter and crucial playoff piece. Winnipeg just didn't do anything with him.
Yeah,
at all.
And to further that, James Robinson throws in the chat, I'm trying to decide if Maurice did not know how to utilize Dubois or if Dubois did not know what Maurice wanted him to do. And that's a very valid point, because he really did look lost out there all year. He never really found a spot that worked for him. They started him on the wing when he was coming in as a center, and he never really found himself a role on the team. And that's a good point, James Robinson in the chat. Was that his fault, Dubois' fault, or was that Pomo's fault for not etching him out that spot? Like, is it whose job was it to figure out what his role is? Right?
Gosh. Yeah, I think it's probably a little of both. And again, me being ever the Winnipeg Jets optimist, I'm confident that we're going to see Dubois find his place next season. And now it might be as a third line winger or third line center. I personally, there was a point where we had Connor Ehlers Dubois on the line. And I think there's so much potential in a line like that because it's just speed and skill.
That's a lot of guns in one spot, right? Like, that's the problem there, is that unbalances the rest of the thing. But I like that line as well. I want to agree with you.
Yeah. But again, I don't think they ever really showed what you would want a line that looked like that to show.
Yeah, I agree. Simon Leung in the chat weighing in says Laine Dubois was pretty equal. Both underperformed. The big thing to me is that Laine wanted out, therefore we win the trade. As lazy as anybody thinks Dubois is, Laine is 10 times more so. Now that's a statement. I don't know if I found him lazy. I just think he doesn't have multiple dimensions to his game. He's a one-dimensional player, and he's very, very good at that one dimension. But if you're asking him to do other things, that's not his bag, man. Like that's the problem. It's he's not. I don't know if he's. I would call him lazy, but he definitely needs to buy into the system more.
Yeah, I mean, again, something I'll say in Dubois' defense is at no point, even when he has had his not great streaks throughout the season, at no point did he look like Patrick Laine throwing a temper tantrum on the ice or, refusing to back check or anything like that. Not in Winnipeg, anyhow. I think, there was a pretty famous shift that he had right before the end of his tenure in Columbus where, he basically just stopped playing and, little half-hearted shove here and not a lot of effort. But I think Patrick Laine, when he would get dejected and frustrated, he would just wear it on his sleeve on the ice. And you'd see, an entire arena full of people looking at him like, what are you doing, Patty?
Yeah. And James Robinson adding in the chat, Maurice also never tried Scheif, Dubois, Stas, and Lowry down the middle. Missed opportunity? Good question, I think.
Yeah, that is true. I think there's so many missed opportunities that you could just make fill a whiteboard with all of the different line combinations we could have tried and all the different strategies we could have taken.
There's a litany of things that could have been done differently, but it is what it is. Laine goes, Dubois comes. I think we win the trade. Simon Leung agrees. I think because Laine wanted out, we got a very comparable player who plays a little more of a two-way game in Dubois. We just needed him to step up and be the Dubois we saw in the highlight reels that got everybody jazzed up and excited. But I really think PLD was a bigger difference maker for the Jets than Laine was for Columbus. I mean, evidenced by look at where we ended up. The Jets' depth got us there, but it is what it is. And one more little tidbit from the chat from Simon Leung. He says, I think we coddled Laine too much, which I agree. And Simon also says every kept passing up shots to try to set him up. So everyone, I'm assuming you meant everyone, kept passing up shots to try and set him up, especially Ehlers. And that's a big thing. Ehlers, when Laine left, Ehlers bloomed. He blossomed. He came out of his cocoon. He started playing like the player I watched when I saw him in Halifax, and he exploded. He had all of this. He was given a lot of opportunity, and I think at the end of this year, evidenced by yesterday, my player of the game for the night before was Nikolai Ehlers. He wasn't making mistakes. He was skating hard. He was passing pucks really well. He was moving with his head up. He was making heads-up plays, and the kid's character is second to none. And if you need proof, go watch the aftermath of that hit on Jake Evans when he's laying on the ice, and Nikolai Ehlers is the only guy trying to stop everybody because the entire Montreal squad was more concerned with revenge than the safety of their own teammate. I didn't like it. I think Ehlers exploded, and so for another reason why I would say that we won the trade is Ehlers being able to open up and really we started to discover what he's capable of. James Robinson says Roslovic was the only winner in the trade, which is I don't know. That's one way to look at it, I guess.
Okay. I just also want to say, like, Jack Roslovic was one of my favorite Winnipeg Jets when he was here. I don't know exactly what it is about him, but man, you just want to cheer for the guy. He's just like got a baby face and plays with a hustle and, shows those flashes of greatness where sometimes he's just like got the best hands in the league for a play. And I was more disappointed seeing him leave than I was seeing Patrick Laine leave. That's for sure.
I agree, and I think Roslovic wanted to play here. I think, he just wasn't being given the opportunity, and whenever
he wanted to get paid to play here.
Well, but he also wanted ice time. That was his thing, and I think it was a good move for him because then he got a lot more ice time in Columbus. But I don't know. I don't know. I really think Winnipeg wins the trade when you look at how it all played out. We made the playoffs despite a terrible slump. The Columbus Blue Jackets absolutely imploded, exploded, wiped themselves off the face of the earth. I'm really not sure. Are they even still a team? Are they going to play next year as a squad? I don't even know. Like, it was bad over there. But
all this Columbus talk makes me feel a lot better about being a Jets fan right now.
Fair enough. And that's what we're here for. We're here to make Jets fans feel better about being Jets fans. Next up, Jordy Ben. Was this a helpful move? No, you don't think so?
No. I think there was so much pressure on Chevy to make some sort of trade deadline move that he picked something. He took a fourth line / healthy scratch guy off of a fledgling team and, traded a low draft pick and said, yeah, sure, we'll take Jordy Ben. And now we've got a veteran defenseman who, I have a hard time believing that, Ville Heinola or Sami Niku wouldn't have had more of an impact on this team than Jordy Ben did.
That's fair. So I also think we brought him in and then we just absolutely wasted him. We let him sit on the bench or in the bleachers, in the press box, and we kept him everywhere. Oh, that's not the right button. We kept him everywhere except for where I thought he was useful, which is on the ice. And the problem is, and I think James Robinson hit it on the head with his sarcastic comment earlier. Let me see if I can find that comment. Doodaloo. What did he say? It was very sarcastic. If only. Oh, I forget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was along the lines of, if only we had a bunch of young talent that we could have rotated into the lineup or something to that effect, right?
Yeah, exactly. There it is. Too bad the Jets didn't have some young talent they could have injected into the lineup. There it is. That's the quote. Thank you, James Robinson, for hitting that. I think that is the story of the year for the Jets. Pomo's reluctance to play young talent. And I don't know if it's Pomo. I heard that Cheveldayoff had a little bit of there was some front office instruction there on that front as well, playing certain people. So as much as possible. I don't think he should be fired by any stretch of the imagination. He's a great hockey mind. He's city and the Jordy Ben thing. Why did we bring? Why make that move at all?
They brought him in to be defensive depth in the first shift of a play.
And getting extra salty in the chat there. Chevy should avoid picking up veteran plugs so that Maurice won't play them 20 minutes a night. It's true. Like when you bring in these vets and all of a sudden, why did Dubois? We traded for Dubois. We gave away a lot in Laine and Roslovic. I get it. But when you're not performing, why is he playing so many minutes? How many minutes did he play last night?
Just over 15. So actually not as many as he usually does.
Well, I still think that's more than he should, given the way he was playing.
Absolutely. I mean, he basically had the same minutes as Mason Appleton. He played more than Adam Lowry or Matthew Perreault. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Not a lick of sense. And guys like Vesalainen, as you pointed out earlier, right?
7 minutes.
Man. Makes me so mad. Like, it makes my blood boil watching that go down and be like, look at this talent that's sitting on the bench, not even in the stands. You didn't even healthy scratch them. You just have them sitting there dressed in their gear like little white and blue pylons. What are you doing? Play them. Play these guys.
I mean, even Logan Stanley, who had both of our goals last night, only got 13 minutes of ice time. Like, at what point do you try and lean on the guys who are actually playing good hockey?
It drives me mental when I think about all of that and how this year ended. Like how it all ended. That makes me so angry.
You know who had our top offensive minutes yesterday?
Who's that?
Andrew Kopp, who was basically invisible through this entire series.
I'm a huge Kopp fan.
Me too. I thought he was great all regular season, but he just turned into a complete phantom in the playoffs.
He just up and disappeared. Had a career season and an absolutely non-existent playoff run. Unfortunate. But so basically what we're coming down here is Jordy Ben, that move, was it helpful? You say no, and I say no. And I think we're getting from the sarcasm in the chat that's a no.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I don't think anyone was super impressed with that move. It's unfortunate that we had Ben in the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. That it sucks, but this is where we are right now. So, the Jets season is now over. We lament, but we thank the Jets organization and the NHL. I mean, in a year where we had nothing going on, couldn't leave the house. I know we couldn't go to the Jets games at the stadium, and that sucks. Going to Bell MTS Place is always quite the experience, but at least there was something for us to enjoy on television. At least there was something for us to enjoy on the ice, and I'm really, really happy with how it all played out. It sucks that we didn't win the cup. It sucks that we got swept in round 2, but we beat the crap out of a team nobody told us we could beat.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd like to sort of piggyback on top of that and say basically the same thing. Like, it's been a tough, weird year. I haven't been able to see my friends or hug my mom or any of these things that I would really love to do. But I've had the Jets, and the Jets, all things considered, how strange everything was, they put up a really good season of hockey, and they were entertaining and they were easy to cheer for. I think I watched every single Jets game, and normally in a world where everything else is going on, there's no way that my schedule would have allowed for that. But I'm so grateful that I got to, really attach myself to this team this year and rise and fall with their successes and failures, and, fall in love with some of these players, maybe not so much with some of the other ones. But having them and getting through that first playoff series against Edmonton was just huge. Blake Wheeler in his sort of post-game interview yesterday said that was the highlight of the last 18 months for him was just being able to be with this team and to go out and beat Edmonton. It's not an accomplishment that we should just push by the wayside because we're not happy with how it ended.
I agree. I think that's easy to agree with. But I also, to extend that, look at this from the chat. James Robinson says, check out how Ducharme distributed minutes for the Canadians.
Yeah.
Which is true. Not one of their players on the forward side broke 20 minutes. Not one. And not one of their players on the forward side had less than 10. Not a single one.
I think that speaks volumes for why they were effective, because they always had fresh legs out there, and they were willing to give their fourth line, if you want to call it that.
That's they're a second line. Let's be honest. Like they played like the second line.
Absolutely. Their lower line guys were getting lots of minutes too,
and that's why I really want us to get away from as a hockey group of people. I want to get away from top line, second line, third line, fourth line. I want to get away from that. Like, I get that that's been the recipe. Hockey is changing. The rules are changing. The way the talent pool is growing. There's more very good players. So when you have a team as deep as the Jets, why do you have a first line? Why do you have a second line, third line? Like, our third line was just as effective as our first and second lines this year. Our fourth line, when they were on the ice, bang for buck, 100% as effective. Why not give them more ice time? Stretch them, rest your guys, so when that top two lines are out there, they're more rested, to your point.
Yeah. No, again, I think that speaks to why Montreal had so much success against Toronto and against Winnipeg. Is just keeping fresh legs coming at you constantly and not placing any one line on this pedestal where they're the they're expected to perform a certain way. All of your players should be expected to perform a certain way.
Yeah, I agree, and this is just where we are right now. So the end of the season is a sad time indeed. So I think, unless we have any more thoughts on the Jets, let's have a last look at the playoff situation here. Again, I'll just bring up the graphic so you can see it on the screen there.
Can I one last Jets question for you
sure.
and for the chat?
Sure.
Who do the Jets expose to the Vegas expansion draft this year?
Here I was hoping we escape without having to answer that question. Because I don't know. How many players? 7 forwards they can protect?
I believe so. Yes.
7 forwards and 5 defensemen or something. I forget how it works exactly, but I think. You have to protect Scheifele. Yeah,
Scheifele you have to protect. Wheeler has a no move contract, so you have to protect him. Obviously, you're going to protect Kyle Connor. You're going to protect Nick Ehlers.
Okay, so that's 4.
You just gave Adam Lowry a nice new contract, and I don't think you want him going anywhere.
Nope, you want to keep him happy.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Stasny and Perreault are free agents, so they're not counted here. You're going to be exposing your either Mason Appleton or Andrew Kopp.
I would love to protect Kopp because the season he had, his playoff performance notwithstanding, he had a great year, and I think he's got more in him, to be honest.
I think he does too, but also, how do you let a guy like Mason Appleton go? He's got hustle. He moves his legs. He's young. He's got so much potential. It's going to be a tricky one going forward.
Mason Appleton, most replaceable player that Seattle might be interested in, says James Robinson in the chat.
Yeah. And then, on the defensive side,
he also says it's 3. He thinks it's 3D.
Yeah. So, you're going to protect Morrissey. You're going to protect Pionk. And then is DeMello.
Then it gets questionable, right?
If you don't protect Logan Stanley, he might be playing in a Kraken uniform next season.
Man, Logan Stanley, he's a fan favorite, and he has such potential. But do you take that chance on him?
God, I don't know. I would hate to see Logan Stanley go because, again, he's a young player. He's got so much potential. He's got a good stick. He can score. He is already a very responsible player. But again, do you let a guy like Dylan DeMello go?
It depends on what his injury is, to be honest.
Yeah, that's tough. That may be a situation like Lung is saying, Simon Lung is saying in the chat, like, make a deal with Seattle, figure out a way to hold on to him.
So because James Robinson, and I just brought it up there, he said protect Morrissey. I'll just bring up the chat box itself. Protect Morrissey, DeMello, and Pionk. If Seattle wants Stanley, make a trade to keep him. Simon says Morrissey, Pionk, Stanley. Agree, make a deal with Seattle, right? But DeMello, it'll depend on what that injury is, what the prognosis is, and I'm not going to pretend like I know all of these guys' contracts and how long that they last. That's not ever been my function here. That's what you're here for, Kerry.
Oh no!
I bring you and Keith McKnight in because you guys generally just off the top of your heads, you just know stuff I don't, which is great. But yeah, the making a deal with Seattle to keep Stanley, that would make me happy. I just think getting rid of Stanley now, what a waste. What an opportunity we have. And
yeah, just a guy who showed flashes of greatness and I think could be a top line defender in a year or two.
And how does it work with the Moose? Because if they're playing on the Moose, are they eligible to be plucked as well, or what's the deal there?
Oh gosh, I believe they have to have had a certain amount of NHL games in order to be eligible, but don't quote me on that.
Now
that's something I would Google if we weren't on air.
If that's the case, and Simon Young in the chat saying exactly what I'm thinking. The draft rules hurt deep teams like us. I agree. The expansion draft rules are heavily in favor of the drafting team, not so much the draftees in this particular case. And we saw last time there was this thing when the Vegas Golden Knights joined the league, how good they were right away because they were able to pick. Like when you have 30 other teams to steal players from. Sorry, my alarm's going off like I'm not on television or something. But yeah, when you have 30 teams to pick from, you don't have to pick the top guy from every team to have a solid team. And remember, they have nothing to prove. Nobody expects them to win anything. So they're out there just having fun and playing hockey. And I think that Vegas, they were very, very fortunate that that's how the rules were laid out for them. And because of that success, that's why the NHL and Gary Bettman want to do that again, because they want teams to be able to be competitive right away. And I get that, but it used to be, take your licks for a couple of years and build, right? But now it's here's a team, go ahead. It includes AHL years, says Simon Leung in the chat. They have to play 2 years to be eligible to be drafted. So you can't pluck guys like Cole Perfetti and I guess Sami Niku could be stolen. Couldn't he? He's played a couple of years.
Yeah, I believe he could, yeah. But who's going to take Sami Niku when they have, either Logan Stanley or Dylan DeMello or, one of these other proven players?
Yeah. Man, it's...
I hate the expansion draft.
I hate it.
It just drives me nuts.
It throws a huge monkey wrench into all of what you perceive to be the future for your team next year. Because, teams like Ottawa, they're going to be safe because it's like what, a team full of rookies basically. Like, do they even have anybody that's played for more than 2 years? But I mean, poor Sammy Nuku, says James Robinson. Nah, I don't know. He had some shots and I don't think he performed the way he was expected to. I mean, he played well, but playing well on a team as deep as the Jets doesn't get you ice time, to be honest. Anyway, it is what it is. We're running out of time. I do want to announce really quickly, if you don't mind, I will take over here and just say I'm very excited. The Jets season is over. We're going to be transitioning the LZ Sports Show into a weekly event as opposed to following every Jets game, since, one, there is no Jets games. And running these multiple days a week takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to make sure that all the equipment is running right and da-da-da-da-da. And I think based on today, you can tell we've actually got our poop in a group as far as the technology is concerned. I finally sorted out a lot of our technical issues that, I'm going to make a whole series of what I learned in trying to stream here. But we're going to be moving the show. It's going to be Sundays at 1 p.m. I would love to hear if that's a time that works for people. If not, it's going to be one of those things where it'll be podcasted as well. So if you don't catch it live on the Sunday, it'll go up later that day and you can listen to the show. And eventually it's going to be folded into one of the other projects that's coming through the WPG magazine that I don't want to give away just yet. But the LZ Sports Show is moving, and I mean guests like Mr. Kerry Bilkowski over here, I'm pointing the wrong way. You're more than welcome to join us whenever you want. You've got a home here on the LZ Sports Show, sir. You're a musician. It comes up and says musician and photographer at the bottom there, but it should also say friend of the LZ Sports Show for life. And Zoner is welcome back as well. We're going to be having lots more guests brought in now that we go to a weekly format. And there'll be people from the Valor FC soccer program. Speaking of which, Valor FC, big announcement right now as well. The season is actually starting. It's going to happen here in Winnipeg. The entire CPL is going to happen here in Winnipeg. And the Valor FC's first game is June 27th against Forge. I think I had a graphic ready for that, but maybe not. We'll switch it to the Valor theme since I'm talking about them now. Boom, here it is. Ooh. Valor FC, season starts June 27th against Forge. How do you like them apples? So there you go. And the whole, like I said, the entire league will be playing in a bubble right here. The CPL, the Canadian Premier League, right here in Winnipeg. Get excited. A lot of the games are going to be made for TV, so they're still working out the whole fans in the stands thing. So we'll see what happens with that, but the whole thing, the season itself starts on the 26th, I think they said, but the first Valor game is the 27th. So very exciting stuff for Winnipeg sports fans. We are going to be talking a lot about Valor FC and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the CFL and, next year's NHL, more about the Moose, all that kind of stuff. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, they do a lot of Jets coverage. So our Jets coverage on the off season isn't going to be huge and extensive. That there is a spot for that. And do go watch their show. They air their show, I think, 9:30 Saturday mornings. Every weekday at 1 p.m., Sports Talk Winnipeg. That's right, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Sports Talk Winnipeg. Anyway, Hustler and Remus. I'm blanking right now. It's just been one of those days. But, so that we've got a lot of really cool stuff coming. Kerry Bilkowski, any final thoughts on the Jets season and or the show today?
Well, I just want to give a big thank you to the WPG Magazine, the LGC Sports Show, to you, to Keith McKnight, and to Neutral Zoner for letting me share and being a part of this show, and I've really enjoyed it. And to the Jets, I want to give a big thank you to them for keeping me entertained and a little bit of sanity in my life through the last crazy year. And yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic and excited for the future. I can't wait to see what the Canadian Premier League looks like this year, and going forward from there, just some bright horizons coming. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Me too. I'm pumped about the whole thing. Sports in Winnipeg is on the up. We got the Jets playing really well. Unfortunately, it didn't work out there. We got people talking here in the chat. What is it? We'll keep watching, says James Robinson. Probably not the live broadcast, but Monday mornings at work instead. There you go. You can always watch it back on demand on YouTube and or through, again, there's the audio podcast. Put your earbud in. Your boss doesn't even need to know. Not that we condone breaking rules at work, of course. So speaking of which, I should be working right now, says James Robinson. Crisp high fives for everyone. Agreed.
High five, James.
Thank you, everyone, for watching all season with us and the Jets. And now we move on to bigger, better things, and the Jets move on to pushing out next year, maybe a third round effort. And then the following year, a cup, or just go straight to the cup next year. I'm cool with that, too. Just in case you're watching out there, Jets, we wouldn't mind. All right, so for everyone here on the LZ Sports Show, for the WPG Magazine, and for myself, Mark Adam, I thank you very much for watching all season with us. We will see you next time, Sunday at 1 o'clock in the LZ.